Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Steven, and today I just want to record a video showing you my design process in order to create a concept for a residential house. And so I'll just go through all the different steps from research to preparing my base drawings and then sketching some ideas. So first we gonna look at the site. So one that I've chosen, let's go first into Google. It's in the bush, like just to let you know, I'm in New Zealand, so the site that I'm gonna take is gonna be in New Zealand as well, in Auckland. So I like to have a site that's near the Waitakere range, and that was the one. So it's gonna be Henderson, so around here. It's a site that I found on TradeMe. It was for sale, and I wanted a site that has trees and sloping contour and everything. So if we go into TradeMe, so we can have some more photos of the site, because I haven't actually been there, so I don't know exactly how it actually is. So yeah, that was this one. As you can see, surrounded by trees, sloping. We get some more photos, get nice views of the mountains, and yeah, got a gravel roads, really steep side. And as you can see, the seller has already provided some plans, type of housing that could have been done. So what I like to do is to just create another design using that site. So that's the only photo that we have so far. So what we could do is to first get some information about the site. If we go to Geo Maps, that's like the website that you would normally use for property in New Zealand. Press agree and just type in the address. Hayes Road. So here it's similar to Google Map, but then you have more information, and that's more maybe up to date. So we know that the property units, property area. So that's how big the site is. Yeah, 2 hectares. And what we want to see is the contour, because we want to have an idea of like where the site is falling. So as you can see, 125, so it's falling this way and flat and then going back up. I'm gonna turn that off. What else can we see? We can see it's mostly trees around that site. They don't really have any neighbors, and all the houses are actually near the roads. I think the site is actually accessed through here, and then this road is connected to Hayes Road there. So what we can do now is to try to extract all the contour and the building footprints and the parcel line. So we can go here, agree, and at this stage we just want this side here. So I'm just gonna zoom in, click this, so it just select this area, and then I want the contour, the building footprint, parcel, and we can also use the aerial, so it will give us a photo that we can use later on. make sure that you click DWG. So yep, press extract. Oops, forgot to put my email. gmail.com. Extract that. Okay, so now we just need to wait maybe a minute or two. Then we'll get an email with all the DWG. Let's go back to here. So one something else that we got it. Oh no, that wasn't it yet. Something else. But another thing that we could check is the send path. So another website that you could use is called Geocalc. Just click on here and maybe type our address. 15 AS Road, Auckland. Yep, we got it. So that's our site, and that's the send path. It's always good, like in New Zealand, winter, it's like a 21 of June. So that's when it starts. And we want to know the solar noon is 12:24, so like right in the middle, that's 12:24. So the sun will rise from this side and then go toward the left, and that's where the sunset. So maybe we can just take a snapshot of this. It's gonna be useful later on when we do like a site analysis. And we're gonna save that. Go into the desktop. Here we can create a folder. And we're gonna call it winter send path. And we also gonna do it for summer, which is in 21 December. And the winter solstice is actually at 1:20. So as you can see, there's more sunlight throughout the day. And we gonna do another screenshot. And summer send path. Oh, made a mistake. Okay, so now let's just check our emails. And so you'll receive an email, and then you just click on it. You'll have to extract the data. So I'll extract, and we're gonna put to Hayes Road. Press OK. And then we go back there. So you'll have something like this cool dataset. All the DWG will be here. Then you get a high-res photos and low-res. So what you do with that is I'm using SketchUp, and I'm gonna import the contour here. Delete that little guy. Before you import, it's always important to check that the units that you have is set up to meters, because the DWG from Geo Maps comes in meter. So make sure it's that. So you go into model info, so Windows, model info, and just put in meters, and then you go file, import, go to your dataset, and press here, close. And as you can see, I imported everything. I like to use SketchUp because for some reason when you import it can read the z-axis, the z information, so it automatically places the contour line to the correct position. So you have this, and one thing you could do as well is first save it, contour model. And now we can create a mesh from it. But before we do that, you can maybe simplify the contour, because I mean there's quite a lot of line. At this point we don't really need to have that much detail, and by simplifying the curves you actually it will be easier for the computer to create that surface. So if you go on use Google SketchUp, you can download some extension, and the one that I have is called Simplify Contour. So I guess you just have to do Google search or use the extension warehouse for that. And so what it does is if there's a contour line, and if it's less than, I think less than 10 degrees, it will just make it 10. Let's try. Oops. So yeah, you can see here, like it kind of make those lines straighter. And when you've done that, you can just select everything and click on this one. So we create a surface from contour. Okay, and I get your surface. What you can do now is turn the contour off. Oops. Okay, so it was on layer 0. Maybe select the whole thing and select the surface that we created, and this we can make it as a group, so we can do edit, make group, and this we're gonna put it into contour. So now we get a surface, and we're gonna create a layer for that as well. Contour, surface, and we're gonna put that in. One thing that we can also do is to apply the texture. So if you remember, on here we have a high-res texture. What you can do is take, oops, building footprint. Well, we don't need those. Parcel, I think we need area selected, so we're gonna keep that, and we're gonna fill it and create a face. Ooh. I think it's because it's using the parcel line, so sometimes they intersect, so that's why it was created. So maybe we can just turn that off, select this, make it as a group, so we can just so I just actually press Ctrl G and it was put as a group already, but I'm gonna create another surface on top like this, and I want to reverse it so the white face is on top, and I'm gonna turn off the area selected. For some reason it's still showing building footprint. I think if we do hidden geometry, nope. Oh well. Okay. So maybe we'll just go back and I think area's parcel line, and we're just gonna make that as a group as well, so we make sure that it's never gonna interact with our new stuff. So now if I'm doing another surface on top, it shouldn't cut it, and as you can see, because the building footprint wasn't put in as a group as well, so that's why it appears. I'm gonna put it into our RC parcel and building footprint. Selected. Oops, I think I've deleted the building footprint. But it's okay, they were not really that important. So edit, make group, and put that into the building footprint. Area selected, turn that off. I'm just gonna make another surface now. Reverse, and I can turn that off. So I get this. Now we're gonna bring in our image. So the high-res one. And is it the right size yet? No, it's a bit bigger. So what we can do is take this image, explode it. So if you press B, it will bring out the paint bucket tool, and if you press Alt, it will give like the syringe to not the syringe, but how do you call that? I'm not too sure, but you can absorb the properties of the surface. So you will absorb the texture, and then you can apply it to the surface. But now we want to make sure that it has the same size as the square that we made. So if we measure it, so once, actually you can just go texture, position, and now you can just drag this here, and oops, let me do that again. Drag this here and drag this here. So now texture is correct, and we make sure that it's texture is projected, and now we can apply onto this one as well. So when you have it like this, make sure that when you click on texture, it's set as projected. Oops, I'm gonna turn this one off. Make sure it's a projected, because if it wasn't, I'll just show you quickly what it does. So just go back, and if I were like, this one is not, let's say it's not projected, I'll take it, I'll absorb the properties, and then I'll just go here, triple click, select this, and apply the texture. That's what you'll get. That's the texture is applied on all the little surface, invisible surface. So that's why you have to make sure it's set as projected and under the contour surface. Oops. Control Z. Properties here. And see, because it wasn't projected, so we go back, make this one projected texture, absorb the properties, go back in. So now it's all good. Now we're done there, we can just delete that one and that one. And what we could also do now is to, because we need to know exactly where our site is right now. So if we turn back on the AC parcel, our site is this one. So we could create another surface here. And what we could do is just extrude it. And because now we get a shape that's intersecting our contour surface, we can just double click on the surface and intersect with model. So oops, just need to wait a little bit, but then it will create a line where those two objects are intersecting. Yeah, sometimes it takes a while. There's after this, when it's finished, I'll just show you another way of doing it, and maybe it wouldn't take as long. Come on. I think that's why it's important when you bring a contour, because the one that we had, it was a line every 0.5 meters, and I mean you don't need that many line at the beginning, so yeah, it's better to work with contour that's a bit simpler. So now let's delete this one, and as you can see, now we get our line. And if you change this, you can see, so that's at side boundary. Another way that you could have done this, let's just Control Z. Okay, so now it's gone. So let's say you've drawn the surface, so that's what you have. And if you just bring it and move it vertically, like and make sure that you stick to the Z-axis, and explode that. What you can do is use the stamp tool, this one here. Oh, it's called the drape tool. So you select the surface here, press drape, and then click on new contour surface, and ta-da! Actually, it's much faster, so maybe next time just do this way. And now we can delete this. So now we can see the road and the boundaries. Now we can set up our views. Camera, parallel projection. So we get a side plan, and we know that north is going to be up. And here we can just save a scene, call that side plan. This will help us when we'll start sketching. We'll use this side plan as a base, and then we'll just use some tracing paper and draw on top of this. So we have this, and we also need to know how steep the terrain is. So actually, if we go back and recreate that shape and pull it up, because now I want to have a section views along the property. So what we can do is now use the section tool, and then use this plane as a reference. Press it, and you can click on it, press M to move it, or you can just use this tool. So now it's stick to that plane, so you can move up and left or right. So I'm going to put it roughly in the middle. And now what you can do is you can actually just delete that face here. Click on the section plane and do a line view. So now you're gonna get that curve here. So we know that the road is around here, and then it's sloping down. And now you can just save that view. Okay, here, save, and section. If you want, you could have done another one across, but I don't think I'll need it for now. Okay, so now that we have the site plan and section, it's time to layer on top some of the new information that we get. For example, the climate, sun orientation. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna go in Photoshop and make a new, oops, that's us. Make it, let's say we work on an A3 and landscape. Press OK. So we got a grid, and I think I like to have the background. I like to do a yellow color, but that's just me. And check. Gonna save that. Concept. Press OK. So now we're gonna go back to SketchUp first, and I think we need to wait, before we do that, because I will save this section as an image, the site plan as well as an image, and then I'll bring in Photoshop, and then we can work on there. But it's always best to work at a scale, and because in Photoshop the grid that I have here is set up for 1 centimeters, so maybe we could work on at a scale to 1 to 100. So 1 centimeter is equal 1 meter. And okay, so maybe we'll need to create a reference point that we can use to scale. So maybe I'll do 1 by 1. So that's gonna be, oh, that's really small. Maybe we can make it bigger. Let's say 5 by 5. So that'll be our reference. And I'm gonna do 5 meter up. And I'm gonna bring it around here. Let's see in this section if it shows. Yeah, so I'll just need to know that height because I know it's 5 meters. And well, maybe I'll just put it here. Okay, so now I can just double click on the section, and I'm gonna export that as a 2D graphic. Section. And now we got a site plan. Site plan. Okay, yes, Kevin, it's live. Just saw your message. So now I'm gonna go back into Photoshop. Press Ctrl H because I just want to remove the grid for now, and I'm gonna import all the new photos that I made. So section and site plan. Press OK. So now I'm gonna copy. I'll just need this area. I copy and bring into a concept. And now we just need to scale it so it fits exactly the page. I know that the square that we just made here needs to be 5 meters, so it's gonna be 5 by 5. Ooh. Apply. Yeah, maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. Well, you know what? Actually, if you do the site planning, I think 1 to 100 is a bit too it's too big. And maybe at this stage we actually don't really need to work to scale. I think working to scale is more important when you do the floor plan. But let's just keep going. Just gonna resize it. So it's like that. And I'm gonna bring in the section as well. So just need this. Paste the section. Okay, and if you want, you can just delete some of the stuff. Like if I use the magic wand, click on the gray part, we'll select all the gray, and I can just delete. Do it the same at the bottom. And so we know it's just this line here. And okay. So now what we can do is to draw on top of this and start to apply all the site information that we got from the climate. And I'm going to lower the opacity maybe to, let's say, 25. And I'm going to create a layer. So normally I would use, I will print that to scale and use some tracing paper. And I got a range of pens, like red, blue, black, pencil, and a thicker Sharpie. But for this tutorial, I think it'd be easier to do it on computer, on Photoshop. And I have a tablet, so I can draw on it. So now I've created another layer. Maybe we can just rename that first. Site plan. Because it can get really, really messy after. Section. And let's say climate. So what are the information that are important to know? Okay, I guess it's better to plug in my tablet first. Yeah, wasn't really prepared. Come on. The joys of life. It's taking a while. Okay, I'm just gonna use the mouse for now. So it's important to know where the north is. Use the brush tool. So of course, north is up. Oh, so, okay, now it's working. The pen is working. So north is up, and if you remember, we had the summer and winter sun. So we can bring those in. And just to give us an idea where the ascent path is gonna go. So we go climate. If you want to know how I make it straight, I'm just pressing shift. So I click one point, shift, and click the other side. So the sun is gonna go this way. Oops. Sun is gonna go this way, from east to west. And so that's for summer, and winter is gonna be more like this. So that's winter, and this one is summer. It's really rough, but it's just to help us get an idea of what's happening on the site. So that's the sun. And we also know that in Auckland, the predominant wind is coming from the southwest. And I think we need to highlight where the boundaries are as well. Those are the boundaries. And that's the road. And as you can see, mostly around is just trees. Also, the site is actually, maybe we're just gonna decrease the opacity and maybe make it thinner. We know that the site is actually sloping down, and there's like a flat part, then it's going up. So you'll have views on this side and this side. Okay. Let's have a look at the section now. So that's the section. And what's important there? I guess you get a big slope here. That's the road, and I guess here you'll have the view, because I think here there's some trees and everything. And yeah, so I guess the main thing is to know that there's like a bit slope going here. Okay. So now that you have an idea of what's happening on the site, maybe it's good to go back to the SketchUp model. Let's see what's there. Okay, I think the next phase now would be to do some more research about the regulation that's around that site. So that can be found in the Auckland Unitary Plan. The map that you get from here, it's gonna be similar to the Geo Maps, but it will give you more information about the zoning. So 15 Hayes Road. And yep, so you can see it's color coded, and here you get more stuff. So it's a rural category range zone, and there's a lot of overlay going on to it. So usually the more you have stuff here, the more restrictions you might have. And so when you know exactly what to do, so that's the zoning. So you click on view full unitary plan, you go to zoning, and we had rural category range zone. Is it this one? Range zone, yes. So here you'll have to read through that, and I think some of the most important stuff would be those things, like standard stuff, building height. So dwelling must not exceed 8 meters. That's important. Tip and front side of the area must be 10 meters. That's quite a lot. Wait, let's just check. How big is this? $21 meters. I think it must be this one. Let's check. But yeah, I haven't really read through that yet. Everything's live. I haven't actually looked into this before. But yeah, you'll have to read through this so you'll know all the restriction. Something was important. I think at this stage we wouldn't care so much about the yards, but you will still do it at some point. But what I want to see is how big I can make this house. Just a bit dwelling. Building coverage must not exceed 300 meters, whichever is lesser. Okay. But yeah, all the restrictions are here. So we download this, and I think you also have to check the other overlays or different control, natural heritage. So if you go back to the plans, you have the overlays here, natural heritage, and you also need to read those things. I mean, the site that I've chosen is actually quite complicated. There's a lot of things onto it, but this tutorial is mostly to show the process. Okay, so let's go back to our SketchUp model. So now what we can do is actually oh yeah, we have to look at the brief now. Because normally in real life, like, your client will come to you and they'll say, okay, I got this site and I want to build a house, and he will give you a list of all the bedrooms, of the rooms that needs to be inside. So let's do that. And because we don't really have any client, I'll be the client. So let's say I got this land. I think I'd like to make a house that has 3 bedrooms, living room, dining, kitchen. I like some storage, studio, office space, car parks for at least 2-3 cars, maybe 2 for me and 1 for visitors. I want a garden. What else? And I think at this stage you can also talk about things, that type of experience or feelings or atmosphere that you like to have. So I actually would like it to feel like a retreat, cabin, something that I go to during the weekends and just to relax and maybe concentrate on my work. Relaxation, concentration, and what else can I say? I want it to be sustainable, and by that use less energy, which means that a lot of natural lighting, and passive heating, and this will all help when we start to organize our site. So yeah, I think we can just start with that. So now what we can actually do is look at some precedent, maybe see how people manage to work on slopes. What I would usually do is go on Pinterest. Oops, and these. And I'm gonna type house on slope. So we get an idea of how people have kind of solved attacking the slope. As you can see here, they've went with stepping approach. So they must have dig into the site to create this. What else? Yeah, it's gonna be something like this, stepping. You can, on this one, as you can see, people, they've used post, and they totally avoid the slopes. And so got another example of post, but this one is much closer to the ground. Some are more like embedded into the slope, like this one here. Another one on post. So yeah, that's usually the two solution: digging into the site or heavily on post. So after that, you could just go into more depth into your precedent study, like maybe looking how each house is laid out, like the floor plans and everything. But right now, what I'll do is go back into Photoshop. Now that we get this, maybe we can start to do some sketch. So I'm just gonna lower the opacity of this again, and I'm gonna draw on top. Let's say concept. So usually how I start my concept, I like to work with a grid. Just makes things easier at the beginning, but yeah, because it's much longer here. So I think our house is gonna be following the boundary, so it's gonna be mostly like a box. It's gonna be like this, and I know that I want to get the sun, most of like natural lighting, and also the sun's gonna come this way, and this way. So I think let's just change some colors. I think I'll have some, because I think at this stage I like to know where my openings and maybe walls gonna be. So I think here is where I'm gonna have all my main windows, and because I know that the wind is coming from this way, so that's where I'll have like my wall, like a solid. Of course I might have some openings here, but they'll be smaller, like maybe something like this, but that's gonna be for later. So by having the windows on that side, I have access to sun, but I also have access to views, so people could look through this way, that way. Okay, so I guess that will be the orientation of my house. So next, what I would think is talk about the different spaces. So maybe here we're gonna call it orientation. Spaces. So when I talk about spaces, it's mostly dividing the house into private and public spaces. Let's just take a pen. Orientation, I'm gonna make it small. So in spaces I got public and private. So usually private will be mainly bedroom, and in public what would you have? You have living, dining, kitchen, if I have a deck area, car park, and I think there's another one that would be like services. So that's like, it's like a public, but it's not really like a main living space, but that would be like toilets, public, maybe entry, and I'll put some storage, private, bathroom, put in private. So this is like bathroom, actually like private and services as well. So Okay, so we get this. So I know that the road is here. So I guess my car park is gonna be at the front. So I'm gonna have car park. And then I'll have an entry. And then my entry, I'd like it to open to maybe like a dining area. And the dining area will be connected to the kitchen. The kitchen is gonna be here. And the kitchen is gonna be connected to the living. Yeah. And the living is gonna be connected to maybe living and dining to like a outdoor deck. And as you can see, the way I placed it is that the living, dining, and the deck are all facing the sun, like the north side, because that's the spaces that I want to have lights. And they're also deeper into the site, so I get the privacy. So as you can see, from here to here, that's like a public to private. And now maybe I'm just gonna change color, take some blue. And now where I'm gonna put my bedrooms. Bedrooms, maybe I'll put them on the side. Bed here and bed here. Yeah. So like they're behind the public areas. So when I've done that, next thing is like circulation. Let's take some reds. So now I'm just gonna see how people are gonna walk through the house. So usually they'll access the car park entry, so this way, and they can either go to the deck, kitchen, or they can access the bedrooms. Yep. Okay, and by I guess by having the bedrooms on this one, I get access to the views. This one will have view to south. Yeah, maybe bedroom would have been better to have some on this side, so they could get access to the morning sun. Yeah, so maybe those can be shifted on this side. I think what we can do now also is now that we've done that, we can have a look at what it looks like in section as well. So go back to section, make it low opacity, and make another layer. So I think we're having something that was along that axis. So you would hit car park, entry, dining, and then living. And as you can see, because it's sloping, this is getting higher and higher. So what we could do, we could follow the site. So we could maybe, oops, car park, entry, dining, living. So this will be more of the like stepping approach. Stepping. And this one, so this is gonna be on post. So this just gives us an idea how things can be divided later on. Oops. Oh, it's been 1 hour already. Maybe we'll just stop it for now here, and maybe in the next segment we'll just go into more detail into how to design the floor plans. Thank you.